Okay, is there any errors or omissions or discussion in regards to those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, can I bring up a couple of things?
Yes, John Sheldon has a comment here.
On E49, is it just a formality, but that current access that was addressed there provided for the church and the new house, and there were 2 new permits were required. One was to remove the mutual access for the church and the house, if I've got that right. And the second one recognizes as an entrance for both. It seems like one is canceling out the other.
Maybe I can shed some light on that. There was a joint access used for the church property, but now the joint access is going to be across the residential property to the east. So they were just changing one mutual entrance for another mutual entrance.
That's right.
So the new one sets it up for the church and for the house to the east.
Yes, it gives access to a house from another house that the house where the access is being asked for never had an access, so they used the church property access. Now they're going to use an easement across a residential property and not use the church.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or concerns in regards to the minutes?
No.
Can I ask another quick question?
Yes, John has another question.
E8719, unless I'm misreading it, did we not request the size of the severed lot to be reduced? Steve, you had recommended that. Was it actually reduced?
I don't have that decision in front of me. What was the name on that one, John?
I'm sorry, I just wrote down E8719. I didn't put the name in on my notes here.
Home Holsteins.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it was reduced.
Was it reduced?
Yes. It was reduced from the original application.
Yes,
Is that right, Steve?
Let me just double check with my notes on that one.
I don't think that's showing up in the minutes.
I know.
Yes, it was definitely reduced.
Yes, it was definitely reduced.
Because right now they're cutting the trees down.
Yes, they had to cut the trees down.
Yeah, but well, no, they're physically doing it now because it's
Yeah,
out
but
by the,
it-
yeah.
They did reduce the lot size from their first time here. And that was the question we made. That's why the trees were to come down.
That's when they came back, wasn't it?
They had
The
them check with-
reduction then.
Yeah. Says that in this regard, the committee may wish on.
You finding anything on that, Steve?
Not yet.
Well, I wasn't at that meeting in February, but the way I read the minutes here, severance as requested was granted.
Yes, they came back with it smaller. Right, Susan?
I'm sure that when they came back the last time, it was reduced size.
To 1 point, there were only 9 homes, was for 1.5 acres containing 1 house, 1 garage, 1 barn. They were asking for more than that the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was any reduction in that one. The only thing that they asked is that the severed parcel be rezoned to prohibit livestock. And that the silo located on the severed lands has been removed and cleaned up, but I think they left it the way it was. We had talked about making adjustments to that, but I think they left it the way it was applied for.
Oh, gotta go back, so that was in the January meeting then.
The first time.
That was February 26th.
February 26th, yeah.
But they came to us in the January or meeting earlier.
Well, I know that in my comments, we talked about exchanging lands and adding lands on the, I guess it would be on the west side of the property to include that row of trees. But they said that it would be better if they left those trees on the east side along with the barn, but they'd take the silo down. I think that what was agreed to in the end.
Is that the one where they were trying to tell us the barn was of heritage value?
Yes.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
only they took 1.8 something, they originally were over 2.
Yeah, I think they reduced it by about an acre.
They were originally here in December though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was deferred. I haven't got my December here on this.
Yeah, it was deferred at the request of the applicants. All I can do is check into that, but no, I don't think anything happened. It's a 1.5 acre parcel.
Yes.
So it wasn't a huge piece of property.
Oh, it isn't.
So I think, John, in answer to your question, I think it was reduced in size, but I don't think that was done because the applicants came back with a deferred application and presented it in a reduced size.
That's right.
Okay,
Okay?
yes, and thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments in regards to those minutes? If not,
I'll make a motion they be approved.
okay, Rosemary
I'll second.
making a motion, Ian will second it, that we approve those minutes.
Okay. And let me just call out your names, please.
Okay.
So, Ian,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Rosemary,
Yes.
John Selden,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Okay, carried unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, is there any disclosure of peculiar interests in today's applications?
No.
No,
No?
No.
Okay, we can carry on from there. I guess the next is this request for amendment. Do you want to enlighten us on that, Steve?
Yes, I will, Mr. Chairman. The owners, the Reimers, contacted me about an error that was made when they made their application to the committee for E7519. And because the error in measurements is beyond the 1.5 meters that we generally will allow in flexibility on these applications, they have submitted a fee of $300 for the amendment and asked me to take this letter to the committee so that you could give it some consideration. What would be required is that the decision would have to be changed with these new dimensions that you'll see on the next page. There's a survey. I don't know if you can see that very well, but the original survey that he submitted to the committee showed on parcel A, the frontage was 46 meters. And on parcel B, the frontage was something like 62. So what they've done here is they've increased the frontage on parcel A to 50 meters and reduced the frontage on parcel B to 56, I believe. So it really doesn't change anything about the intent and purpose of that severance. It's just that the dimensions on the road are different. And this was submitted to me by Kim Husty, the surveyor. So I'll leave that in your consideration, but that's what they were asking for.
So in essence, by moving it, they've moved it over quite a bit closer to that one barn. Is that what I'm seeing?
That's right. They still have enough side yard requirement there, but they have moved it over a little bit. Yeah. I think what happened was they didn't have enough space there before, so they've extended it by another 4 meters to include that little shed.
Any of the members have comments in regards to this?
Just a comment here. For me anyway, I'm just curious, something like this, rather than us not having all the information in front of us, why wouldn't this go on the regular agenda? Because they had to pay an amendment fee. It is obviously a substantive enough issue that we have to deal with it. And we only have a little paragraph and something, and my memory's not good enough. I don't remember everything, and I could go back to East 75, and it's small enough. I'm not too worried about it, although I do wonder why we keep getting these error point. I'm assuming this is not a Husted error. That's somebody that the applicants had made some estimates on the dimensions. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, that's what happened. It was the applicant that made the mistake, and then Husted was asked to correct it, and so it came back with this different frontage. And because it's over the 1.5 meters, I suggested that it go back to the committee for your consideration.
I know we've had this before, and I think we've even talked about it, or I've talked to a couple of you about it, that should we even accept the applicants where they're just really seat of the pants measuring out there? Should we not have, if somebody is serious about a consent, to already have the survey done so that we don't run into this? We seem to be doing it, in my mind, for a legal process too often. I'd rather see this adopt a policy where you need a survey for the application, and if you don't have a proper survey, we won't consider it. What do others around the table think?
Ian has a comment.
I have a comment on that. I mean, what surveyors are charging now and what time I'm seeing in our area it takes to get a surveyor there to do the work would hold some of these applications way up. And if we're gonna ask them to have it resurveyed, like I'm only throwing this out, one we discussed a little earlier this morning that came back with a changed measurement. If they had surveyed that at the 2 some acres, then they've got to have the surveyor come back and they get charged the full price again to have that resurveyed. And I've seen that in my area where people, a couple last year ended up spending over $9,000 on survey fees because they had to have it done over twice.
Okay, I agree with you on that. I see the logic in that. What about then, rather than just dealing with it as a short paragraph where we're trying to remember, I would rather see us with, even if it's a 1-page, to refresh our memories. What did we decide? What changes did we make? And then give us a refresher and then make it as a formal resolution rather than just dealing with it on these notes. Have it on the agenda as an application, because we don't have to accept this. We could turn it down. I mean, legally, I'm not going to, but I just don't like dealing with these amendments like this, the substantive amendments, just with a paragraph and say, everybody try to remember what you did 2 or 3 months ago and then please pass it. I just don't like that process. Does anybody agree with me? Would anybody want to see this as part of the agenda where we have a little bit more substantive information than just a little paragraph saying I'm wrong, and just grant it with the changes? Because without going back, I can't remember what we all said. And it's not a big enough issue, but I may see something on it if my memory tweaks where I say, well, wait a minute, maybe I don't agree with it. But right now, just based on what's here.
I tend to agree with you a little on that, Ian. It's hard to remember these things, especially when we've had a longer break than normal this time, that maybe a little bit more notes to kind of refresh us would be a bit of a benefit on these situations.
Well, the only thing that I can offer you is that this property is located in the hamlet of Richmond in Bayham Township. And so it's in an area where there are some residential uses along Heritage Line. And the Reimers have just asked that a parcel be severed off so they can have another building lot there. So it is an area that has piped water. But they'd have to put in a septic system on the parcel that they want to build on. So it's just a matter where it's an infilling situation. It's not out in the middle of a rural area necessarily. It's in a settlement area.
And you see, Steve, that's the information. If we simply had that in a one-pager, it puts my mind at rest that there's been some thought behind this, and it's not just somebody trying to scam an extra few meters. It gives me comfort to do that. And the information, if we hadn't talked about this, all that information you just gave us, Steve, I had no idea about any of that. So that's why it's so important. You've got this information. I would like it shared with the committee.
Right. Well, and that's why I put it on here so that we could talk about it. But basically, from the Reimers' perspective, they conceded that they did not accurately measure the frontage, and therefore, when it came back to Kim Husted, it showed a different measurement. So they're trying to correct it. And I said that the only way that they could correct it through the severance process is to go back through the committee and ask for an amendment to the decision. So the only change that would be made to the decision would be on the frontage dimensions, because that's all that shows on the decision.
Yeah.
So it is minor, but it's beyond the scope we have for variance, right?
Yeah, we can only go 1.5 meters, and I think they were about 4 on parcel A, and I think they were about 5 on parcel B.
So it is beyond, but not drastically. So
Yes, that's
I guess
right.
it's what does the committee want to decide on this? Do we want to accept it? Do we want to?
I would say we accept it.
So Ian's making a motion that we accept it.
I'll second that.
John Sheldon will second it. Any further comments?
Okay. Can I take a recorded
Yeah.
vote?
Okay.
Ian,
Yes.
Dennis?
Yeah.
Rosemary?
Yes.
John Sheldon?
Yes.
Jack?
I will abstain since I wasn't on the committee in February.
Okay, that's fine. And Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, that's unanimous with John Andrews being absent.
So that's all I have here till we get to the applications, I think. Is there anything else? You have, Steve?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. The first application will be heard at 10 o'clock, and that's the Penner application, which is a redo from a previous application. And these applications are the ones that got suspended from the March 25th meeting, so we didn't add anything new to it. So hopefully you have some background from the March 25th. So what we're going to do is most of these people we think are going to be on WebEx. So you may see them just show up in a little picture frame on the side. That's fine. I mean, this is an open public meeting, so if they want to be there, we've asked them to just show up and join the WebEx meeting at the allotted time. So we don't necessarily want them to be in and out while we're having this meeting. The Tillotsons, which are on at 11:15, I think Mr. or Mrs. Tillotson will be in attendance, so they will be at the podium this morning. I haven't heard that any other applicants will be making an appearance in person.
Okay. So when we get to the application, do I ask if they are online, if they're joining us, or how do we deal with that one?
Well, you'll see them in a little picture, and down the side, I think you can see who are the participants. If you go down to the bottom of your page and see participants, it'll show up on the right side of the screen so you can see if they are present or not. But they should show up in a video screen. So yes, Mr. Chairman, you can ask if they can confirm that that's who's attending, and we'll get names just as we normally do. And then you can start by reading the first part of your application, and I'll finish off with the conditions and the planning reports and all of the other information.
Okay.
We got a 10-minute break then, do we?
Yeah.
8 minutes in Elmer.
Yeah.
I have a question, Steve. When these reports come out, are we gonna get better maps? Because I know.
Maps that Carolyn can share with us. We've got the aerial maps.
Yeah, but
The reason I didn't circulate those is because they're fairly large in the amount of data it takes to send them. So we certainly will be able to see aerial photographs this morning.
But I know before when we got these, we got better maps with our correspondence than what we got with this time. And it saves you kind of going on Google Maps to look for it because, I don't know, I'm a visual person and I like to see it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sometimes these maps are not the best, and these are the ones that the applicants actually submit. These were submitted to Susan back in February and March. So rather than make any changes, we sent out exactly what had been sent out in March. So we didn't make any changes to the mapping.
Okay.
One question, Steve. We had discussed this at our meeting a while ago, that some of them hand-drawn are out on, you know, they don't show everything. And there is a lot of stuff available now on Google, is there not?
Yes, there is.
Well, I think when they give us an application, they can get that off of Google to give us a proper look at where the house is sitting on the lot, and not do a hand-drawn one where they don't even use a ruler, they just draw the lines and we don't have any idea.
Oh, you're absolutely right. We made changes to the instructions on the application for people to say that they need to provide us with an accurate sketch, and that still isn't being done. So we're going to make some improvements to the way in which we accept sketches from now on. So
Thank you.
Just a question on this thing I have to read at the end, Steve, there where it says recirculate with 15 days after the COVID emergency declaration terminates. Are the applicants going to get any notice saying what that date is going to be, or are they just going to have to learn from media when that date's going to take effect?
well, yeah, nobody knows what that date will be. So that's why we're making them aware of the fact that the notices won't be able to be circulated until the declaration of emergency ends.
But when that date is announced, are these applicants going to get any notification from us as a committee as to what the date schedule is on this 20 days appeal?
Well, once the COVID emergency declaration ends, we are required then to send them a notice, and that's when the appeal period starts.
Okay, that's what I was wanting to know, if they were going to get an actual notice saying what the appeal, when the appeal period started and ended.
Right. So they will get the same notice. It's just that we have to delay sending the notice until the declaration has been lifted.
Yeah. First ones, they're gonna be on line with us, are they? The first applicant.
Jacob's already online.
They're already on.
Okay, let's see what next.
Yeah.
By the way, Mr. Chairman, we've got Carolyn Cron with us this morning, who has been very helpful in hosting this meeting. So I was remiss in not introducing her. I don't know whether or not you've all met Carolyn, but she's upstairs and she's keeping tabs on all the files. So she's been a real big help.
Good.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Yes.
You're welcome. Nice to meet everyone virtually.
Okay, 10 o'clock.
It's 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Go chair.
Okay, we can start here with application E9319 from Jacob and Tina Penner. The applicant is with us. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hopefully you can all hear me.
We're okay.
Okay, yeah, so my name is Jacob Penner, as was mentioned. And so we're trying to sever a lot in Straffordville with some difficulty.
Okay. I will read a little bit here and then maybe we'll ask you for a little further comment on that, okay?
Sure.
Application E9319 by Jacob and Tina Penner for consent to sever a lot with a frontage of 24.3 meters along Plank Road by a depth of 40.3 meters north lot line to 27.6 meters south lot line. Area 901.1 square meters. Proposed to create one village residential building lot from lands municipally known as 9299 Plank Road, Village of Stratfordville. Legally described as part of Lot 1 and part of Lot 16, Registered Plan 205, Municipality of Bayham. The owners are retaining 1,406.7 square meters containing one house, proposed to remain in residential use. So at this time, if you would mind giving us a little bit of an explanation, details on what you're wanting to do there?
Okay, so originally we were just going to sever the lot and to build a new home. And so we're still hoping to be able to go through with the severance, and we're just going to be selling that at this point.
Okay, thank you. Steve, you want to make some comments there?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, just we had received some written submissions from the municipality of Bayham. They're recommending the application subject to rezoning to a site-specific village residential zone. And that is to remove the site-specific front yard setback for the existing dwelling. Installation of an individual private well on the severed lot with water quantity and quality reports. Install a connection to the municipal sanitary sewer system, and that would be at the landowner's cost. Engineer a design stormwater management, drainage, and grading plan. Purchase of a civic number, digital copy of a registered survey, cash in lieu of parkland. So these are the normal things that the municipality asks for as part of their conditions. Staff submitted a report to the mayor and members of council, which was prepared by Margaret Underhill on January the 16th. And there was also a planner's memorandum prepared by Paul Riley, who is their planning consultant, and that was submitted on January the 7th. So those planning reports have been attached for the committee's consideration. And I also have comments later on as well. Brian Lima, the Director of Engineering Services, has indicated that a direct connection to a legal outlet for the severed lot is required. Also, discharge of water to the county road allowance is prohibited. And if necessary, an entrance permit must be obtained for the severed parcel at the cost of the owner. And a lot grading plan is required for the severed lot. So my comments on behalf of county planning: the subject lands are located in the village of Stratfordville, designated as a tier 2 settlement area with partial services, so they have municipal sewers in Stratfordville. The subject lands are designated residential in the municipality of Bayham official plan, and they're zoned village residential in the municipality's zoning bylaw. The creation of a residential lot within the village is supported by Elgin County and the municipality of Bayham official plans, which permits infilling and rounding out of existing development. The county supports this application for consent, provided that the severed and retained lots conform to the policies of the local official plan and the requirements of the local zoning bylaw. If this consent is granted, the committee should include the following as conditions of consent, which would include that the applicant shall provide to the Land Division Committee a signed acknowledgement and undertaking confirming that the applicant has been advised that the Ontario Building Code requires confirmation of servicing, including an individual on-site potable water supply prior to the issuance of a building permit, that the applicant has made the necessary inquiries to the municipality to determine the work necessary in order to confirm that the site conditions are suitable for the long-term provision of such services with no negative impacts, that the applicant undertakes to advise any future purchaser of the above acknowledgement and the results of such inquiries. Confirmation of sufficient reserve sewage capacity shall be provided by the municipality. So those are all the comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, anybody on the committee have any questions or comments? John Sheldon?
Steve, on the rezoning to address that setback, I still don't quite understand what that means. What is it, what's in position now and why do they have to do it, change the setback?
My understanding is that there is an existing house on part of that property now, which doesn't meet the setback requirements. It's one of those issues where, you know, you've got existing buildings that don't meet setback requirements on a county road, so they are going to make allowances for that in the zoning bylaw and do a site-specific zone to allow for a lesser setback for the new property. So basically what it does is it keeps the new house in line with what's called the established building line along Plank Road. And
Okay, so it's
entirely within the purview of the local municipality to do that.
Okay. So it's really just keeping it in conformity with what's already in place.
That's right.
Okay, I'm sorry, anyway, that's a great help. Also, may I ask one other question?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Penner, the last time you spoke, you kind of came in and discussed this with the committee, and you had concerns about the sewer hookup. Is that resolved?
Not 100%. I've run into some difficulty being able to hook up to the sewer on Plank Road. The depth of the sewer is well below the water table. And the excavator that, if I can get this work done eventually, he was saying that it's not impossible, it's just very expensive. So we are right now looking at an alternative option, and I'm trying to get all my ducks in a row, if you would say, for that option. The excavator likes the idea. The Port Burwell water treatment plant, I think I spoke to Ed Rollison. He's fine with it. But I still need to see if that's possible because it involves an easement. What the new plan is, if we get permission from all the right people, and of course I would do everything the way it's supposed to be done, but the new plan is to hook onto Heritage Line instead of Plank Road for the sewer hookup.
Wow, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. Leave it to the minute.
It's because, you know, there between the severed lot and Heritage Line, there's one property. If you've looked at the map, you could see there's one property there. Basically, like I was saying, it involves just getting an easement permission from him that we can go on the edge of his property, behind his property there on the very back, go along there and hook up to Heritage, because as my understanding is, the sewer is not at that depth there, and it would be a lot easier. It would involve less digging, because the way the excavator has explained it, he would just dig 2 holes at the depth he needs and drill across. There would be no trench being dug anywhere really, except for on the severed lot. So that's the route we are trying to take right now. It's very slow getting information right now because of the whole COVID-19. People, you know, everybody's taking a little bit longer to respond. I've left messages and tried calling. So anyways, that is the plan right now. If that works out, then we're fine. If that does not work out, then after that, I was going to mention I will just be withdrawing my application.
I wish you good luck with that. I think it's a good idea.
Thank you for that update. Dennis or Jack, do you have any input to put into here?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. First of all, Steve, just procedurally and with all the emergency orders out there, are they making any allowances on deadlines as a result of COVID-19? Mr. Penner said he's going to run into a bit of a headache getting information. Have they allowed us to extend deadlines, or do we still have to stay with the statutes?
No, Mr. Chairman, through you, we can extend deadlines because when there is an emergency declaration order from the province, everything gets put on hold until that declaration is lifted. So as I mentioned to the chairman just a little while ago, the notices that we send out for these applications will actually be delayed until the declaration is lifted. And then we have to issue the notices within 15 days after the declaration has been lifted. So that means that everything gets moved on further. So even though if this application is approved on today's date, it actually will get moved further along to match when the emergency declaration is lifted.
And that's currently the end of June now. Is that what I read someplace? Is that where it's at now?
At the moment, the declaration runs until June the 2nd, but they have to reestablish that declaration every 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. Then my question goes back to Mr. Penner. You said you wanted the consent and then you're going to sell the property. You're not going to build on it yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, we've just decided, I have a friend of mine who's been looking for a lot for quite some time and he's interested in it. And so we are just going to be selling that lot to him if we can finish the severance. I was just going to add, I forgot to say, so to do all the work anyways, I would need permits. And right now there's no permits being issued. So this would be, I have no idea when I could even submit them. For an application for a permit. So this would be delayed anyways. So that would give me more time to figure out with the excavator the proper procedure and plan of how to do this. So
with all these deadlines and all the work that you've got to do, and we've got a number of concerns from a number of different agencies, and you're going to sell this to somebody else. Are you planning on getting all the sewer hookups and the wells and all that? Are you planning on getting that all done before you sell it? Or are you leaving that up to the new owner to do that?
No, I legally, I don't think I can sell this lot until that's done anyways. So I plan on having the well, the sewer, all the conditions of the application. I'll have them all fulfilled before I sell it.
Okay, thank you.
So any other comments?
No.
I guess I just have to say, Acton, it sounds like you've been doing an awful lot of work to try and make this happen. And it's committee's decision, but if we do decide and it goes forward, I hope you're able to get everything done within the time limits and everything and move forward on this. So if nothing else, does someone want to make a motion on this?
I'll move.
John Selden moves.
Second, Dennis O'Grady.
Dennis will second it.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll take a recorded vote. Ian.
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Rosemary.
Yes.
John Selden.
Yes.
Jack.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you. And John Andrews is absent. Okay, let's carry unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Penner.
Okay, thank you.
I have to read this thing at the end, just a minute, I forgot that. Decision rendered today for this application will be circulated within 15 days after the COVID-19 emergency declaration is terminated. There is a 20-day appeal period from the giving of the notice of decision in which any person or public body may appeal the decision or any condition imposed. If no appeal is received within 20 days of the giving of the notice, the provisional consent becomes final. The applicant has 1 year to meet the conditions imposed and submit the necessary documents for a certification or the consent will lapse and a new application will be required. Please leave the identification signs in place until the appeal period ends, after which they can be removed. If you would like to be notified of today's decisions, please request a copy by contacting Steve Evans at sevans@elgin.ca. A copy of the comment package is also available upon request and includes all correspondence received. Thank you. So on that, I guess time is up. We can move on to the next application. Application E40/20, Mark and Beth Schweitzer. If there is one of the applicants with us, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Mark Schweitzer.
Morning, Mark.
Morning, Mark.
Good. Hi, Ian.
Application E40/20 by Mark and Beth Schweitzer for consent to sever a lot with a frontage of 108 meters along marsh line by a depth of 108 meters. Area 1.166 hectares or 2.88 acres, containing one house, one grain bin, 2 barns, 1 shed. Grain bin to be removed. Proposed to create 1 residential lot surplus to the needs of the proposed purchasers from lands municipally known as 20662 Marsh Line. Legal described as part of lots C and D, concession 9, municipality of West Elgin. The owners are retaining 42.4 hectares or 104.7 acres proposed to remain in agricultural use. So Mark, would you like to just kind of explain your proposal to us, please?
Yeah, so what, if you guys can all see, we basically squared off the lot. So we removed 2, the from the north side of the bin. So we removed 2 of those pads and then squared the lot off now. So my plan is I'm hoping to retire, and we're selling the farmland to the millers, and I guess that's it. The bin has been sold, so the guy just has to remove it. So part of the inspection, we had to install a new weeping bed or tile bed, so that's been done. Water test, I think you got all the documents there, so hopefully we got everything that you require.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any comments or questions from anyone on the committee? All right, Steve?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Give me a second here. Okay, we have received written submissions from the municipality of West Elgin. They have no objections, but they do have some conditions that they wish to ask to be put in place. A zoning bylaw amendment must be enforced in effect for the severed and retained parcels. The owner must have the necessary review and assessment conducted on the existing sewage disposal system to confirm its adequacy and or necessary replacement to the satisfaction of the municipality. The bin located on the severed parcel must be removed to the satisfaction of the municipal chief building official. Requirements of the municipal road department regarding access and or drainage reapportionment has occurred. Taxes must be paid in full. 2 copies of the registered survey must be provided. And these are the normal conditions that are attached by the municipality. They also provided a planning report from Heather James, which was dated March the 12th. The committee has copies of that. Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority offer no objections. Brian Lima, the Director of Engineering Services, indicates that this is not on a county road and therefore the county does not have any issue. From my perspective, the planning, county planning, the subject parcel is designated agricultural in the Elgin County official plan, and rural area in the West Elgin official plan. Service for a resident surplus to a farming operation is supported by the provincial policy statement, the Elgin County official plan, and the West Elgin official plan. The county supports this application for consent, provided the lot to be severed and the lands to be retained meet the policies of the local official plan and the provisions of the zoning bylaw. I would note that the provincial policy statement requires that a new lot will be limited to a minimum size needed to accommodate the use and appropriate sewage and water services. So the committee may wish to consider reducing the size of the proposed residential lot by leaving the farm buildings with the retained farmland. And those are the comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Any comments, questions from committee? John?
Sorry, I want to ask about the area of the applicant. Is this, just from the image, I'm getting the sense that the lot's that size just simply because of everything being in place. Have you a problem with any of the buildings being left with the retained property?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yes, Mark.
Yeah, no, our intention is to keep the buildings ourselves. We're still continuing to farm. I have equipment in there and like we rent land, so I'm still using the buildings.
Okay, thank you.
And also that, just to point out, that portion that we were farming there, there's 2 catch basins in that corner. So the 2 catch basins are retained in the grass portion that we're keeping. So we've just had a small planter, so it wasn't hard, but the folks that are buying it have a 60-foot wide planter and try and turn in there around the catch basins. It would be not much fun for them, so we just squared it up and turned it into grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good planning.
Okay.
Dennis here. Just walk me through this. So with the property, who's moving into the farmhouse? Are you currently in that farmhouse there now?
Yeah, we've been living here for 15 years.
And you're going to continue to live there? You're not selling it?
Yep. That's the plan.
Okay. And then those barns that you're keeping, you've got quite a large barn and a couple of sheds there.
Yep.
And you're using those. Where's your, since this is being sold to another entity, where's your home farm now?
This is it.
What got sold? What's being severed off? What's being sold?
We're severing the agricultural land around the house property.
And you're just severing it or retaining ownership of it?
No, we're severing the land and the purchaser is buying the farmed portion and we're retaining the house and the buildings.
Okay, so, but you then said earlier that you are continuing to farm. You need those buildings for farm implements because you're continuing to farm. Where's your home farm? Where's your home farm now that you're going to be farming on?
Well, it's just rented land that we're retaining. We're continuing.
How far away is it from your house there now?
Oh, I guess it'd be about 6 or 7 kilometers.
There's no buildings on that other land. You're just renting it.
Yeah, there's the house on it. A lady still lives on it. But there's no buildings at all on it.
All right. Okay, on to somebody else, Mr. Chair.
Okay, anyone else comment? Jack, do you have any input on this or you good with it?
Yeah, it does seem a little odd, I guess, that the home farm will be severed and keeping the buildings and severing off all the farm land. But I guess in essence, I don't see a big problem with it. Unless at some point in time, the owner decides to sell and move on, then the farm buildings that are there now are in full use. They may or may not have a use for those buildings later. But yeah, overall,
thank you.
I think it's okay.
Okay, so any further comments? If not,
I think the land needs to be reduced. Is there any way that can be done?
Okay, Rosemary's point is, needs to be reduced. Is there a way that can be done?
No?
Like you need, Mark, you need a lot of that space behind the house for your new weeping bed. Is that what I understand?
Well, the weeping bed's installed in the, kind of in the grass portion on the north side of the house there. We removed an old greenhouse foundation there. If you look, it's all cement pads where from the old bulk tobacco kilns that were removed years ago. So I wanted to retain those to park equipment on and things on, so that it just seemed natural to make it into a square rather than leaving it irregular like it is in the picture. So I took two of in that picture, we're not retaining all that. So the two most northernmost pads were removed. So which brought it in about 40 feet from where the existing, like it looks like in the picture.
Okay.
Not what it looks like then.
No.
Oh,
So if you can see in the picture there, those are all wagons parked there, but where it's only about not quite halfway, a little bit more than half. So it's hard to explain. But it's not as far back in the field there where we went.
oh, okay. I thought it was that shape. Okay.
No.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Okay, you're welcome.
If no other comments, does somebody want to make a motion of what we want to do here?
So move.
Ian Fleck will move. Seconder.
I'll second it. O'Grady.
Okay, Dennis will second it.
Okay, I'll do a recorded vote, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Ian,
Yes.
Dennis.
Yep.
Rosemary,
Yes.
John Selden,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the decision was carried. The decision rendered today for this application will be circulated within 15 days after the COVID-19 emergency declaration is terminated. There is a 20-day appeal period from the giving of the notice of decision in which any person or public body may appeal the decision or any condition imposed. If no appeal is received within 20 days of the giving of the notice, provisional consent becomes final. The applicant has 1 year to meet the conditions imposed and submit the necessary documents for certification, or this consent will lapse and a new application will be required. Please leave the identification signs in place until the appeal period ends, after which they can be removed. If you would like to be notified of today's decision, please request a copy by contacting Steve Evans at SEVANS@elgin.ca. A copy of the copy of the comment package is also available upon request and includes all correspondence received. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is working out good for time.
Hmm?
Working out good for time.
Just. The back, so they it's concrete. But it's not.
Okay, it looks like we're at 10:30, so I guess we can just carry on here. Application E5/20, John Classens and Connor Classens. If the applicants are with us, could you please introduce yourself? No, not with us. Okay, application E5/20 by John Classen and Connor Classen. Hello? Application E520 by John Classen and Connor Classen for consent to sever a lot with a frontage of 10.85 meters along Forest Street by a depth of 45.36 meters. Area, 492.15 square meters, containing one semi-detached unit. We propose to create one new lot for residential use from lands municipally known as 37 and 39 Forest Street, legally described as part of Lot 94 and Lot B, registered plan 74, Town of Elmer. The owners are retaining 492.15 square meters containing one semi-detached unit, proposed to remain in residential use. Steve, you want to give us your?
Yes, I can, Mr. Chairman. The town of Aylmer has no objection to this proposed severance. The proposal conforms with the town's official plan. It's a medium density residential area and the zoning bylaw shows it's zoned R2. A planning report was prepared by Cale Brown, Director of Corporate Services, on March the 2nd, and that was attached for your consideration. Catfish Creek Conservation Authority have no concerns. Brian Lima, Director of Engineering Services, indicates it's not on a county road. And the county planning comments are that the subject lands are located in the town of Aylmer, which is designated as a Tier 1 settlement area in the Elgin County official plan. The town has full municipal services and is a preferred location for new development. The Aylmer official plan designates the subject lands as medium density residential, and the lands are zoned residential type 2, R2, which permits a range of housing types, including a semi-detached dwelling. The County of Elgin supports this application for consent, provided the lot to be created and the lot to be retained conform to the local zoning bylaw requirements. And those are the comments, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Since the applicant is not with us, does anyone on the committee have anything they want to say in regards to this? Jack and Dennis, any comments?
Pretty straightforward. There was another one of these done at a meeting in January, which I sat in on just to view. And the town representatives find this to be in compliance with all their planning, so it's all good.
Okay, thanks, Jack. So if that's the case, does someone want to make a motion in regards to this?
I'll move it.
Jack, move. Rosemary will second.
Okay, recorded vote. Ian,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Rosemary,
Yes.
John Selden,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
Okay, decision rendered today for this application will be circulated within 15 days after the COVID-19 emergency declaration is terminated. There's a 20-day appeal period from the giving of the notice of decision in which any person or public body may appeal the decision or any condition imposed. If no appeal is received within 20 days of the giving of the notice, the provisional consent becomes final. The applicant has 1 year to meet the conditions imposed and submit the necessary documents for certification, or the consent will lapse and a new application will be required. Please leave the identification kinds in place until the appeal period ends, after which they can be removed. If you'd like to be notified of today's decision, please request a copy by contacting Steve Evans at sevans@elgin.ca. A copy of the comment package is also available upon request and includes all correspondence received. Thank you. So I guess we're at the point, we have about a 10-minute break. If anyone needs a break, the opportunity is here.
Mr. Chair, I'm finding that I'm just, without the Tim Horton cookies here, I'm just feeling a little faint here.
All right.
That's where they all went. No wonder, John, you're in the council chambers.
I don't know if I can get through the next, well, I'll do my best, Mr. Chair.
We'll keep an eye on you, John.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry that we haven't been up to snuff on the hosting this meeting, but
Got it written down, Steve.
Yeah, I know, I'm getting some black marks against my name here.
Never, never.
720, David John Miles. If the applicant is with us, could you introduce yourself, please? And it appears like he's not here. Okay. Could you introduce yourself, please?
It's not.
Okay.
I don't think he's here, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Application E720 by David John Miles for consent to sever an irregular shaped lot with a frontage of 19.81 meters along Crescent Avenue, a rear width of 30.21 meters, and a depth of 44.51 meters north lot line. Area 1,113.49 square meters. Proposed to create one residential building lot from land municipally known as 87 Crescent Avenue, legally described as part of Lot K, Registered Plan 174, Concession 9, Municipality of Central Elgin. The owner is retaining 1,018.32 square meters, containing one house, 3 sheds, proposed to remain in residential use. Steve, if you would read your.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have submissions from the municipality of Central Elgin. They have no objections to this consent. However, they do have some conditions that they want to have attached to the decision, one of which is that the applicant obtains a qualified professional to prepare a noise and vibration analysis report in accordance with the noise and vibration policies of their official plan. Confirmation from the municipality that the drain affecting the subject lands has been resolved to the satisfaction of the Director of Asset Management. The applicant enters into development agreement with the municipality of Central Elgin to address administrative, technical, and financial matters related to the development of the lot. That includes the implementation of any recommendations set out by the noise and vibration analysis report, a payment of cash in lieu for park purposes, a copy of the reference plan, and a drainage reassessment be done if necessary at the owner's expense. Brian Lima, Director of Engineering Services, indicates that this is not on a county road, so the county does not have any issues. County planning states that the subject lands are designated as a Tier 1 settlement area, Lyndhurst, in the Elgin County official plan where full municipal services are available and new development is encouraged. The Central Elgin official plan designates the lands as residential. The County of Elgin supports this application for consent, provided the residential lot to be created and the lot to be retained conform to local zoning and building bylaws for Central Elgin. And those are the comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, since the applicant isn't with us, does anyone on the committee have any comments or questions in regards to this?
Just a quick question. There was no formal planning report, was there, with this one apparently?
Can you answer that, Steve?
There was a planning report. It was attached to some other information that came in later. It's attached to the Central Elgin letter. I think you have it. But I can tell you that it's just a reiteration of the conditions that you see from the municipality that went into the planning report.
Thanks. I just wasn't reading it or appreciating it.
Okay, so Jack or Dennis, if you have no comments.
I'll move it. Dennis O'Grady.
Dennis Grady moves it. We have a seconder. Ian Fleck will second it.
Okay, I'll do the recorded vote, Mr. Chair. Ian?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Rosemary?
Yes.
John Selden?
Yes.
Jack Van Castren?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Thank you.
The decision is carried. Decision rendered today for this application will be circulated within 15 days after the COVID-19 emergency declaration is terminated. There's a 20-day appeal period from the giving of the notice of decision in which any person or public body may appeal the decision or any condition imposed. If no appeal is received within 20 days of the giving of the notice, the provisional consent becomes final. The applicant has 1 year to meet the conditions imposed and submit the necessary documents for certification, or the consent will lapse and a new application will be required. Please leave the identification signs in place until the appeal period ends, after which they can be removed. If you would like to be notified of today's decision, please request a copy by contacting Steve Evans at sevans@elgin.ca. A copy of the comment package is also available upon request and includes all correspondence received. Thank you. So we now have another approximately 8-minute break.
Very good. Maybe we could talk about our next meeting.
Oh, good suggestion.
Yes,
Is that
Steve?
all right, Chair?
Rosemary made a suggestion that maybe we could talk about when we want to have a next meeting.
Certainly. Well, we were talking the possibility of July, so I'll give you some dates in July that may work. Wednesdays, near the latter part of the month, so we've got July 22nd or July 29th.
Either date. Nothing planned.
Any preference?
Either one.
Either one, I prefer to see the 22nd, but either one will work.
Steve, how many applications have you got in the docket now?
Well, we don't have too many. I know that Susan told me that she had a couple sitting on her desk, but there were still things to work out with them. I think I have only received in the last couple of weeks 2 applications, so it's not like we have a backlog of a lot of applications. And as I mentioned previously, if we were to wait until July, we may get past this COVID-19 issue and be able to meet in person.
Yes.
That would be nice, because I don't like this.
Agreed.
I think I prefer the 22nd. It's John Sullivan. The 29th. The 29th, although I don't object to the 29th, it's just coming closer to the long weekend. And it'd be useful to have that free, but that's 6 of 1.
Tentatively, can I put down the 22nd of July then?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Susan Payne.
Thanks, Rosemary. That was a good idea.
Get her done on the way, right?
Do we just cancel then completely the June one, obviously? Yep.
Yes, that's right, Steve.
I'm just mentioning that
June at all.
we have 90 days to hear an application, so if there is no, I guess that one of the issues why I think we're justified in waiting is that even though the committee can approve applications today, the applications can't really go anywhere until the appeal period starts. And the appeal period can't start until the emergency declaration has been lifted. So we're really in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment. So we may as well wait until we can actually get the whole process back in motion, and the appeal periods can go on like they normally do.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Steve, I have a question. On the previous application for the, I forget their name, Klassen in Elmer, that was the duplex. The photo that you had on the screen was of the property, but it must have been a dated photo because there was no buildings on that property, right?
Yeah, those aerial photographs were taken in 2015.
Okay,
They're the most up-to-date ones we have, Jack. That's unfortunate.
yeah, okay.
I kind of wondered too, because there is a building there.
Yeah, it's a fairly new duplex and all they're doing is dividing it into two.
Right.
Okay.
It's the problem with some aerial photos. They're quite okay.
I know, I looked at mine and I got trees out front. I don't have them anymore. I gotta cut them down.
Mhm.
We should be getting a new round of photography this year, actually, because it's the province that does that photography. So I'm expecting that we'll get 2020 photographs fairly soon.
I see.
That might be COVID delayed too.
Blame everything on COVID.
Well, that shouldn't be, there's only 2 in an airplane, so that shouldn't be.
Sorry to interrupt. I think the last applicant is actually out in the hallway. So I think someone's just asking if someone would be able to go speak with him quickly about his application.
Oh, yeah.
John Miles.
Yeah, he can come in. Sorry, we didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Steve, the last applicant, I guess, is in the hallway, so he would want to know if we could speak to him briefly. So we can call him in here and talk to him briefly, can we?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you've made your decision, but sure, you can speak with him. I'm surprised because he never indicated to me that he was going to attend.
Okay. Guess we need to check to see if there's anything out there.
Yes, we should. He's over in the other room.
We must have set that up as a waiting room.
Yeah, he's over in the other room.
He didn't notify me, so
He didn't notify us that he was here.
no.
I put on the notices that I asked people to give me at least a 24-hour notice about what their intentions were so that they can invite them to the WebEx meeting, but I didn't hear from Mr. Miles.
We apologize for that. Nobody let us know you were in the building, so.
Oh, so you went through it all,
So anyway,
doesn't sound like there's
you can introduce yourself and we can, so your name is?
David John Miles.
Okay, David John Miles. So Steve, maybe if you want to highlight what we talked over?
Up there now. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Miles, I'm Steve Evans. I'm the planner for the county, and there were some comments that were provided to us by the municipality. There are some conditions that are attached that they would like to see placed into the decision of this committee. The committee has already approved your application, so you're in good shape. But just to let you know what the local municipality had to say, I can go over those with you.
The concerns.
Give me a second here. Municipality of Central Elgin sent us some comments indicating that they had no objections to your severance at 87 Crescent Avenue. They do say that the applicant should obtain a qualified professional to prepare a noise and vibration analysis report. And I assume that's because your property backs onto a railway line?
It does, it's inoperative at this time. And I was told that I could probably just put that in the title deed, a notice that, yeah, that it is there and that wouldn't be necessary then due to the fact that there's neighbors all around me that are established houses that don't have berms or anything.
Right. Well, that's a condition that the municipality has placed on the property, so that's something that you'll have to work out with Central Elgin. They've also indicated that there needs to be confirmation that the drain affecting the subject lands has been resolved to the satisfaction of the Director of Asset Management. I understand that you've talked to them about a relocation of the drain on your property.
Tying it into the city sewer system when they do the road, yes.
Right, okay. And also they say that the applicant should enter into a development agreement with the municipality to address a number of administrative, technical, and financial matters. Payment of cash in lieu of parkland purposes, that's a normal condition that they apply. So those are generally the conditions that the municipality has asked for. The county engineer doesn't have any issues because you're not located on a county road. And the county planning office has indicated that the subject lands are designated as a Tier 1 settlement area, part of Lyndhurst, where full municipal services are available and new development is encouraged. The Central Elgin official plan designates the land as residential. The County of Elgin supports this application for consent, provided the residential lot to be created and the lot to be retained conform to local zoning and building bylaws for the municipality. So those constitute the sum and substance of the conditions and comments that we received.
Now, do you want me to read this decision over again now that he's present, Steve?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
Okay. The decision rendered today for this application will be circulated within 15 days after the COVID-19 emergency declaration is terminated. There is a 20-day appeal period from the giving of the notice of decision in which any person or public body may appeal the decision or any condition imposed. If no appeal is received within 20 days of the giving of the notice, the provisional consent becomes final. The applicant has 1 year to meet the conditions imposed and submit the necessary documentation for certification, or the consent will lapse and a new application will be required. Please leave the identification signs in place until the appeal period ends, after which they can be removed. If you'd like to be notified of today's decision, please request a copy by contacting Steve Evans at sevans@elgin.ca. A copy of the comment package is also available upon request and includes all correspondence received. Thank you. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Just number one there, wasn't sure what you said on number one. To work backwards, the signs still need to be in place for 20 more days.
After the circulation, this will be circulated within 15 days after
COVID.
The declaration of COVID is declared, it is terminated.
It's terminated.
What does that mean?
Whenever the government, maybe you want to explain that, do you, Steve?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're required to, we can't go through an appeal period until the emergency declaration from the province has been lifted. So what we're saying is that the signs need to stay up until an appeal period, which we don't know when the end of that appeal period may be at the present time, but it will be at some time after the emergency declaration has been lifted by the province. So I would just suggest you leave those signs in place until after you receive a notice from the county that your application has been approved and the appeal period ends in 20 days from the date you receive that notice.
I will receive on.
You will receive it in time, yes.
Okay, and to register the lot, that would be unadvisable then at this time.
Well, unfortunately, you can't register the lot until you fulfill all the conditions that have been placed on that property. So you have 1 year to fulfill those conditions. That 1 year will probably be extended because of this COVID pandemic. So you probably got a little bit more than a year, but that's generally the requirement.
Okay, sounds good. And that lifting, is that like due to the circumstances or the type of thing we're dealing with here? Would that be like first stage, second stage, or that kind of thing? Does anybody know the answer to that, or? No, we're all in the dark.
Yeah.
Okay.
The declaration right now extends till June the 2nd, and the province sets the dates. So if that emergency declaration is extended beyond June the 2nd, we will still have to hold on to your notice until after that.
Basically, everything's on hold till they lift the declaration,
Right.
and then your 20-day appeal. So if I got this right, Stephen, nothing starts to happen in regards to this as far as this year till after the 20-day appeal period is up, right?
Well, the applicants will not get a notice until after the emergency declaration has been lifted.
So his 1 year does not start today. It doesn't start till after he gets the notice,
That's correct.
which is after the 20-day appeal period, so.
Right.
So the other thing too would be that those signs, I can pretty much take them down now and put them back up when I get that thing. Because they need to be up for 20 days after the declaration is lifted.
I'll let you answer that one, Steve.
I would suggest, Mr. Miles, that you leave those signs in place until you hear anything further on your notice.
I just think that it's easier to cut the grass for them,
No.
but that's fine.
Well, you can lift them up, cut the grass, and put them back in.
That's what I'll do.
Okay,
We're good then?
we're good.
Good.
We're good. We'll wait for something in the mail.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Sorry about the.
No problem. Understandable.
Are you guys still on break then, or do you want the next hour?
Is the next applicant there?
We're due anytime.
All right, I will bring.
Okay. I believe our next applicants are gonna come in person here.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah, I see him sitting right there.
Okay.
Chairman, do you know if there's more than one person coming in?
I don't at the moment,
Husband and wife.
husband and wife.
Husband and wife.
So you guys are
I was
just-
gonna say, we may be beyond the numbers that are allowed within one room.
I think so.
We may only be able to allow one of them to come in.
We got too many. 1, 2, 3, 5.
Actually, we got too many people in here to be legally under the rules right now.
Or the health stay over on this side.
Oh, you gotta go out.
Well. How are we gonna do this, Steve?
I would say, Mr. Chairman, that you should invite one of them in, but not both of them in.
There's 3.
Okay, and you're out. And we also have Mr. Rowe in here.
Well, I'm not there, but there's no one out in the hall. Can the second person just stay in the hall with the door open and at least listen to the proceedings?
I don't see anything wrong with that.
She'll be all right. I'll fill her in.
No, but Mr. We gotta have one more. Well, I got one too many.
Yeah.
We got one too many. Still one too many.
Just open the door and stand in the door, David. Just stand in the door.
Stand
Just
in the
open it and
door.
stand in the door. Okay. Can you hear us, so David? If you got, step in front if you can hear us if you have to. Okay, application E620, Norman and Beverly Stansel. Could you identify yourself, please?
I'm Norman. Beverly's out.
Okay, we have Norman in the room, Beverly's in the hall, and Mr. Rowe, their agent, is also accompanying them. Application E6020 by Norman and Beverly Stansel for consent to sever a parcel of land with a frontage of 67 meters along Chalet line, a rear width of 56.72 meters by a depth of 189.9 meters each lot line. Area 12,136 square meters, or 2.9 acres containing one park shed encroaching on a severed parcel to add the adjoining agricultural lands to the west. From severed lands municipally known as 52412 Chalet Line, legally described as part lots 28 and 29, concession SIC, part of lots 101 and 102, concession STR, Township of Malahide. The owners are retaining 80.6 acres containing one house and one barn, proposed to remain in agricultural use. Steve, if you want to read over your submissions there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have received submissions from the Township of Malahide. They indicate they have no objection. They require that an entrance permit obtained from an appropriate road authority be required, road widening complete or necessary agreement in place. The applicant retain the services of a professional designer and have an engineered lot grading and ditch grading plan prepared suitable for the township. The applicant initiate and assume all planning costs associated with the severance as required in accordance with the Planning Act, with all costs to be paid in full to the township. The proposal conforms with the township official plan. However, it doesn't conform with the zoning bylaw. A report to council was prepared by Allison Adams on March the 5th. Catfish Creek offered comments, although they said that this application is within the Long Point Region Conservation Authority watershed. We did not receive any comments from Long Point, so I don't have anything to share about the Conservation Authority. Brian Lima, Director of Engineering Services, indicates that this property is not on a county road and therefore the county does not have any comments to make. The County Planning Office indicates that a consent for lot boundary adjustment is supported by the Elgin County official plan, provided no new lot is being created and that the approval authority is satisfied that the viability of the retained agricultural parcel is not affected. The provincial policy statement permits lot adjustments for legal or technical reasons, which include minor boundary adjustments which do not result in the creation of a new lot. So based on the above information, the County of Elgin supports this application for consent for lot addition purposes. As a condition of consent, the committee should ensure that the lands to be severed are merged with the abutting lands and that section 50 subsection 3 of the Planning Act applies to any future consent affecting the same lands. And those are the comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, would you like to just kind of briefly explain your application to us here, Mr. Stansel?
The neighbor is David Gosho, and he is a young Amish farmer. He has a small farming operation that is all organic, and he's looking for a little more land to grow hay on or organic corn. And he came to me and he said, I'd really like to buy your whole field. And I said, I'd rather not sell it all. That's my farm. But I said, I would straighten up the boundary line. So to the north of this little parcel, I want to come straight down with the lot line that is the western lot line of my property. So we would shoot a line straight through on that. And then everything from that line would then go to David Gosho's property. And I don't know how I could point that out to you, but there's a little step out to the west.
There's a map.
Okay, there's a little step out here, and that's the property that we're severing off.
On the close-up, is it that?
Yes, it's here. We would shoot this line through. Perfect. And then it's this little piece here, goes to his property.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions from anyone on the committee? Jack or Dennis, you have anything?
It makes sense to me. Makes good sense to me.
Yep, my only comment is that we incorporate the comments from Long Point Conservation Authority in the consent.
We do that, Steve. Did you get Dennis, what Dennis said there?
I did, but we didn't receive anything from Long Point.
Okay, then can we just make?
We can certainly make an inquiry to Long Point, but generally speaking, Long Point doesn't provide comments.
Yeah, that's fine. I can see a bunch of hatched lands there on the map, so, and that's fine. So if we just put in something that if these landowners have to contact the Long Point Region CA, and that's fine by me, just so that we, yeah, that, and then whatever they do to it, it's up to them.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. And I'm not quite sure. You can word it better than that, I think.
I will.
But it's all agricultural use land now, is it not, Norm? And it's
Yes.
gonna be retained as agricultural land in the future too, so.
I can't see there'll be an issue, but. So anyway, if there's no further comments or questions, Rosemary will move it. John will, or do you have a question, John?
Just one quick, can you show me again the section that's being severed?
Oh, yeah.
I just can't quite.
Map behind you is the same.
This is a lot line, and we're gonna shoot it through the road, Everything west.
No sense in terms of lights down somewhere.
So it gives me then a very straight lot line.
So,
Yep.
don't treat that with
And
you.
see, this is his property back here. Goshen's property is to the north of this. It's getting severed. Okay, so it would then just square everything up. to his farm.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Okay, so John asked his question, so Rosemary make a motion to move it, and John will second it.
Second.
Okay, for a recorded vote, Ian,
Yes.
Jess,
Yes.
Rosemary,
Yes.
John Selden,
Yes?
Van Castren,
Yes,
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
agreed.
motion is carried. Okay, the decision rendered today for this application will be circulated within 15 days after the COVID-19 emergency declaration is terminated. There is a 20-day appeal period from the giving of the notice of decision in which any person or public body may appeal the decision or any condition imposed. If no appeal is received within 20 days of the giving of the notice, the provisional consent becomes final. The applicant has 1 year to meet the conditions imposed and submit the necessary documents for certification. The consent will lapse and a new application will be required. Please leave the identification signs in place until the appeal period ends, after which they can be removed. If you would like to be notified of today's decision, please request a copy by contacting Steve Evans at sevans@elgin.ca. A copy of the comment package is also available upon request and includes all correspondence received. Thank you. You have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
The one reading that I heard was that a site plan had to be generated and an official grade. I don't understand that when it's
I
standing
will
farm.
raise that specifically with the township, that's the standard condition. But because it's being used for agricultural purposes, they will waive that condition.
That's up to the township.
Because I thought, why do I need that?
They're not building anything on it, so.
That's the township.
That's just part of their standard recommendation. If you were building a house, it would be in effect.
Yeah, because it's just gonna get plowed.
They tend to put everything in just in case they forget something.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
I have no further questions, and thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
As soon as we get the decision, I'll give you a call.
Good, sounds perfect.
I'm here for the next one.
You're here for the next one.
You're going, you get to go home. See you later. Thank you.
That makes it a lot better.
That'll help with the seeing on the map.
Okay, so I guess we're within the time limit. We can carry right on with the next one here.
Just one.
Application, on my page here.
We got two,
Just one can come in.
so we can only have one of you here. You can just go right over there, and that way we've got our distance.
Stand in front of the
You
podium.
can go to the podium
In front of
now.
the podium.
Or I can go to the podium.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just stand over here. Okay.
Okay, application E20, or E8-20 for Lawrence and Carol Tillison. And could you please introduce yourself to us?
David Grove, the agent, and that's Carol.
Okay, thank you.
And Lawrence is outside.
Yeah.
And Lawrence is
Yeah.
outside.
Lawrence is in the hallway, okay.
Lawrence is in the mall.
Application E8/20 by Lawrence and Carol Tillison for consent to sever a regular shaped lot with a frontage of 9.44 meters along Francis Street, a rear width of 8.34 meters by a depth of 35.2 meters south lot line. Area 312 square meters containing one semi-detached unit. Proposed to create one new lot for residential use from lands municipally known as 263 Francis Street, Village of Port Stanley. Legal to describe is Lot 12, Registered Plan 49, Municipality of Central Elgin. The owners are retaining 395.9 square meters containing one semi-detached unit proposed to remain in residential use. Steve, if you could read your submissions to us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Written submissions were received from the municipality of Central Elgin. Council indicates that they have no objection to the consent. They require certain conditions which include the approval of a zoning bylaw amendment, confirmation from the municipality that the municipal services for the subject lands have been resolved to this, sorry, I've got the wrong one here. Oh, I'm on.
Oh, you're right.
The proponent enter into a development agreement with the municipality of Central Elgin to address administrative, technical, and financial matters related to the development of the lot, and a copy of the reference plan be provided to the municipality. A drainage reassessment be done if necessary at the owner's expense. Brian Lima, Director of Engineering Services, indicates that this property is not on a county road and therefore he has no comment to make. The County Planning Office indicates that the subject lands are designated as a Tier 1 settlement area in Port Stanley in the Elgin County Official Plan, where full municipal services are available and new development is encouraged. The Central Elgin Official Plan designates the lands as residential. The County of Elgin supports this application for consent, provided the residential lot to be created and the lot to be retained conform to local zoning and building bylaws for Central Elgin. And that constitutes the comments we received, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Could you please kind of explain your proposal to us, please?
What we're doing is the existing semi-detached, and we are severing the two heads to make them separate so they can be conveyed separately. It's going to require an additional sewer connection and a water connection. The building itself has to meet the internal building code, and it does for the to allow it to be separated. So from that perspective, it's really quite straightforward application.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rowe.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments from anyone on the committee?
No.
On here, Dennis or Jack, anything to put in? No? Okay. Good.
Right, I was on mute. No.
Okay. Do we have a motion by someone on the committee as to where we want to go with this? Ian will move it.
Second, O'Grady.
Second by Dennis.
Okay, I'll call for the vote. Ian?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Al Selden?
Yes.
Jack Van Castren?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
That's carried.
Okay, the decision rendered today for this application will be circulated within 15 days after the COVID-19 emergency declaration is terminated. There's a 20-day appeal period from the giving of the notice of decision in which any person, public body may appeal the decision or any condition imposed. If no appeal is received within 20 days of the giving of the notice, provisional consent becomes final. The applicant has 1 year to meet the conditions imposed and submit the necessary documentation for certification, or the consent will lapse and a new application will be required. Please leave the identification signs in place until the appeal period ends, after which they can be removed. If you would like to be notified of today's decision, please request a copy by contacting Steve Evans at sevans@elgin.ca. A copy of the comment package is also available upon request and includes all correspondence received. Thank you. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
next name to tie my tongue in knots. Wintershed. How much dirt
Sounds
you
like
put
you're
on it, I guess. About a 4-minute wait here.
Sir, I'm sure we've done this before, Mr. Chairman, but if somebody's going to, the next one coming up, I'm sure we've run into it since our group started, but a severance and an easement put together in the same application, you never have to split those out, is that right? You're just being opportunistic by putting them both in at the same time? No requirement to split those two apart?
No, maybe you can fill, did you hear his question there, Steve?
Yeah, no, you can combine a severance with an easement because the committee needs to approve both. In this case, really, the severance can't be completed without the easement for the underground heating. I think he's got a thermal furnace or something for that property, so it makes sense to do them both at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to go hand in hand.
It's the same way when you get a well that's on the farmland. Right, Steve?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we've done a number of these where the easement. So what the decision will say is that the consent is granted together with an easement. So they're both done at the same time. I think we have Amy Dale on the line with us this morning for this one.
Okay.
I have a question for Steve on that last Tillotson severance. There was only one sewer line and one water line, as David Rowe mentioned.
Right.
It's not, the onus is not on our committee to make that a conditional, or that severance approval conditional on a new water line, a new sewer line, right? That's already dealt with by the municipality, correct?
Yes.
That's right. It's dealt with it. They've already talked about that in their report that they want a separate water and separate sewer line. So that's going to be done.
Yeah. So we don't have to make that approval conditional on.
No, because this committee doesn't have any authority over local servicing. That's done by the local municipality. So
right.
As long as they include it in their conditions, then we're satisfied.
Yep, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Morning, Amy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Really doesn't matter. Nobody else can come in here to hear this anyway. Okay, I think we're close enough. 11:30 here. We can probably proceed. Application E920. I'm going to apologize for even trying to say these names for Henrik and Felicitas Pia Winterscheid. And we have, Amy, is it on the line with us in regards to this?
Amy Dale.
Correct, yes. Amy Dale.
All right, thank you. Application E9/20 by Henrik and Felicitas Pia Winterscheid for consent to sever a regular shaped lot with a frontage of 102.6 meters along Burwell Road, a rear width of 98.24 meters by a depth of 125.6 meters. Area 3.4 acres containing one house, one shed, one metal clad outbuilding, one metal clad barn, one lean-to shelter, proposed to create one new lot surplus to the needs of proposed purchaser. Together with an easement over the retained lands having a frontage of 101.7 meters along Burwell Road by a depth of 32.69 meters. Area 3,278 square meters for access to the buried geothermal lines from lands municipally known as 8115 Burwell Road, legally described as Lot 13, Concession North Talbot Road, Township of Southwold. The owners are retaining 98.52 acres proposed to remain in agricultural use. Steve, if you would read the submissions, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have written submissions from the Township of Southwold. They recommend approval of this consent. They also are waiving the requirement for an environmental impact study on the proposed retained parcel. And that the proposed severed and retained parcel should be rezoned. They indicate that a septic system assessment should be conducted on the proposed severed parcel to ensure that the lands are suitable for a privately owned and operated septic system. Drainage reapportionment and payment thereof, a mutual drain agreement be provided, and all financial agreements to the township be paid in full. So these are the normal conditions that we usually require, that the municipality requires. A planning report was submitted to the local council by Heather James on March the 9th, and the committee has copies of that report. The Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority indicates that they have no objections to this application. Ryan Lima, Director of Engineering Services, indicates that this parcel is not on a county road and therefore he has no comments to make. The County Planning Office indicates that the subject parcel is designated agricultural in the Elgin County and Southwold Township official plans and zoned agricultural A1 with Conservation Authority regulated land and natural areas and adjacent lands overlay. A severance for a resident surplus to a farming operation is supported by the provincial policy statement, the Elgin County official plan, and the local Southwold official plan. The size of the proposed parcel is excessive at 3.48 acres. The provincial policy statement requires residential lots to be limited in size to accommodate the use and appropriate water and sewer services. In this respect, the committee may wish to reduce the size of the proposed lot by leaving the barn and possibly other outbuildings with the retained farm lands. The County of Elgin generally supports this application for consent, together with an easement to provide access to buried geothermal lines, provided the surplus farm dwelling is in conformity with the policies of the Southwold official plan, and that the proposed severed and retained parcels meet local zoning bylaw requirements. And those are the comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Steve. Maybe Amy, if you could speak to this application for us to enlighten us a little on it.
Okay, for sure. So I totally understand the county planner's comments with respect to the size of the parcel, and I will be very frank that I expressed those same concerns to the client at the outset, at which point they actually invited me out to the property, and I went and viewed it, looking to see if we could somehow make it smaller in a way that some of the land would go back into agricultural production. And when I attended at the property, what I noted was that if you actually, and I know it's very difficult, you can't see it in any of the aerial photography, but the topography at the rear of the property actually has quite a sharp drop off to it. And the tree line that you see shown both in the aerial photography but also in the sketch that AGM surveyors did basically marks the bottom of where that drop off is. And I realize that, you know, where the barn is maybe doesn't seem like as big of an issue, but it becomes more of an issue as you travel to the northerly direction, where the clad structure is shown on the map. So I will tell you as well, full disclosure, that when this was originally submitted for pre-consultation to Southwold, their planner had the exact same concern that the county planners had. We invited her out to the property to view it as well. And once she did that, she wrote her report in support of it because of the topography. And I will tell you also the same questions came up at Southwold Council before they passed their resolution in support of the application. So, I totally understand the planner's concerns, but it is really about the configuration and the topography of this property. It's irregular and oddly shaped because we did our best to follow where the sensical lines would be for the topography and to leave the pond with the agricultural land.
Okay, thank you. Is any of that land within that area presently farmed?
No, there's pasture land. So the Wintershites did have some horses, which is what the metal clad building, it's like a lean-to. And then, so they did have horses pasturing in there, which you can see in the aerial photography. It looks like, it's short because that's obviously kind of winter time, but it's not cultivated land what's inside that tree line.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments from the committee?
Just a quick question. What's going on with that little jog on the north on the property boundary?
That was, again, our attempt to make the parcel as small as possible while still recognizing at the frontage by Burwell the existence of the location of the septic system in field bed. So what we did was at the frontage, we carried it over just to ensure that we had the full septic system contained within the new boundary. But then we went and jogged it back at the rear to make the parcel smaller, basically.
All right. And so that pond doesn't affect the water at all in that area? The well,
We're
sorry,
aware
sorry,
of, no, and there's no permit to take water on that pond.
Any further questions, comments?
Just one, Mr. Chairman, what is that? Is that a silo at the back of the property? What is that round structure right in the tree line?
Yes, that is a silo, and the clients have no desire to keep that. And to be honest, I've told them that I anticipated it would have to come down as part of any condition of a consent. If you look on the, oh, sorry.
I thought I read that there was 3 silos on there originally.
There are 3. There were
So
3.
if you look, there's the 2 that are further up the driveway.
In front of the metal
Those are
clad
small,
building.
kind of short bin type silos. And then the one at the very rear of the property is more what I would have you consider the standard concrete silo.
So those 2 in front of the clad building, excuse me, they're grain bins rather than silos?
Well, they are made of concrete. I want to be honest with you about that, but they are shorter in their size than the traditional one at the back. I don't believe there's any emotional connection to any of those silos, and certainly the potential use of the new land would not require any silos. So
I guess my question is, what value are they to the severed parcel either?
well, agreed. Yes. So certainly that was a communication and a conversation I had with the Wintershites, that silos don't normally appear on residential parcels. So.
Mr. Chair, one last question then. You said the potential use or the future use of the land, is it just residential? Is it going to be a horse place? What's going on?
My understanding is it is just intended to be residential. And with the acreage that's on there, obviously, to comply with the rezoning that would have to be done, there would be restrictions on any future use.
The livestock restriction.
Livestock.
Any further comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move it with the condition that the 3 concrete silos be removed as a condition.
Okay, Dennis made that motion. Move that the silos all 3 silos be removed.
Yeah, I second it with the silos being removed.
Ian will second that.
Okay. We'll go for a recorded vote here, Mr. Chairman. Ian?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Rosemary?
Yes.
John Selden?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
It's carried.
Okay, The decision rendered today for this application will be circulated within 15 days after the COVID-19 emergency declaration is terminated. There is a 20-day appeal period from the giving of the notice of decision in which any person or public body may appeal the decision or any condition imposed. If no appeal is received within 20 days of the giving of the notice, the provisional consent becomes final. The applicant has 1 year to meet the conditions imposed and submit the necessary documents for certification, or the consent will lapse and a new application will be required. Please leave the identification signs in place until the appeal period ends, after which they can be removed. If you would like to be notified of today's decision, please request a copy by contacting Steve Evans at sevans@elgin.ca. A copy of the comment package is also available upon request, includes all correspondence received. Thank you. You have any further questions, Amy?
No, only just the clarity, and I wondered how we were going to handle that. So let's say the state of emergency declaration is lifted on the 29th, not that any of us think it is, but say it is, then you guys would then endeavor to send out decisions within 15 days of that, and then our appeal period runs from that date of decision, correct?
Steve, you can answer that one.
That's my understanding. We have to issue notices within 15 days of the lifting of the emergency declaration. So that's when the notices would go out. So everything gets pushed back until the emergency declaration is lifted.
No, and that's fair. That was my understanding of the regulation as well. I just wanted to clarify for the client.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chairman, I just want to make sure that I've got this right. We're one of the conditions of this committee will be that the 3 silos be removed on the property.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we now have 3 minutes. And
Mr. Hildebrand with us.
okay.
Hi.
There he is.
Application E10-20, Gertruda Hildebrand. And could you introduce yourself to us, please?
Hi, Fruity.
I'm John.
Thank you. Application 10/20 by Gertruda Hildebrand for consent to sever a lot with a frontage of 34.01 meters along Culloden Road by a depth of 89.70 meters. Area 2,880.4 square meters, proposed to create 1 hamlet residential building lot from lands municipally known as 10580 Culloden Road, legally described as part of Lot 6, Concession 9, Municipality of BAM. The owner is retaining 2,863.3 square meters containing 1 house proposed to remain in residential use. Steve, if you could read your submissions to us, please.
Yes, I will, Mr. Chairman. The written submissions were received from the municipality of BAM. They have no objection. Their conditions indicate that water quality testing reports for nitrates and bacteria content meeting provincial standards for residential use be taken. Water quantity testing report meeting provincial standards for residential use be undertaken as well. A professionally prepared grading plan be required. Municipal lot assessment for a private septic system, purchase of a civic address number sign, and other fees that they require, including a parkland dedication fee. So these are normal conditions that the municipality requires. A staff report to the mayor and members of the local council was prepared by Margaret Underhill on March the 5th, and a planner's memorandum was prepared by their consultant, Paul Riley, on September the 7th. So this is a resubmission of this application from back in 2017. Brian Lima, the Director of Engineering Services, indicates that a direct connection to the legal outlet for the severed lot is required. Discharge of water to the county road is prohibited, and an entrance permit should be obtained for the severed parcel at the cost of the owner. Also, a lot grading plan is required for the severed lot. The county planning office states that the subject lands are located in North Hall, which is designated as a Tier 3 settlement area in the Elgin County official plan, where no municipal services are available. The subject lands are designated hamlet in the municipality of Bayham official plan, and they are zoned hamlet residential in the local zoning bylaw. The creation of a residential lot within North Hall is supported by the Elgin County and the municipality of Bayham official plans, which permits limited development given the absence of full municipal services. The County of Elgin supports this application for consent, provided that the severed and retained lots conform to the policies of the local official plan and the requirements of the local zoning bylaw. If this consent is granted, the committee should include the following as conditions of consent: that the applicant shall provide to the Land Division Committee a signed acknowledgement and undertaking confirming that the applicant has been advised that the Ontario Building Code Act requires confirmation of servicing, including individual on-site potable water supply and on-site sewage treatment system prior to the issuance of a building permit. The applicant has made the necessary inquiries of the municipality to determine the work necessary in order to confirm that the site conditions are suitable for the long-term provision of such services with no negative impacts. That the applicant undertakes to advise any future purchaser of the above acknowledgement and the results of such inquiries. And lastly, that the municipality confirms that there is sufficient reserve sewage treatment capacity for hauled sewage from private on-site sewage systems. And that is all of the comments, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks, Steve. The applicants, if you could kind of just explain your application here to us.
Sure. Yeah, we did an application back in 2017. We did not meet some of the conditions because of engineering. We needed, like it says, the sewer for road water and runoff. We've met all the conditions now, so we're just doing a reapplication for just another residential lot that we were going to be selling for someone to build a house on.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or concerns from anyone on the committee? John Sheldon?
I just wanted to ask about the entrance off Culloden Road. It appears as if you have something already set up for that, or am I mistaken?
No, so it's not set up yet. There is an entrance to the existing building. There's a home on it to the south side, and that property severed right in half, and there will be a driveway that is going to be coming in further north to that one that's in the south there at the time.
Okay, and where is the sewage being hauled to?
So sewage is just going to be a septic system, and then there's 2 drains put in just for gray water or rainwater runoff, and it's tied into, it's called the Hildebrand drain that they've put in, and it's tied into the Peters drain, I believe. That went across the road, it's called the Peters drain.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, to clarify that, you said gray water. Is that really what you meant? Or you mean
Not
rainwater?
Sorry. It's just like the land, like just rainwater. They want to.
Okay, that's fine. There's a legal difference, so I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions?
No.
If no further discussion, someone like to make a motion on our direction here?
I'll move.
John Sutton will move it. Rosemary will second.
Okay, I'll do the recorded vote, Mr. Chair. Ian?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Rosemary?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
And Castron?
Yes.
Mr. Chair? That is carried.
Okay, the decision rendered today for this application will be circulated within 15 days after the COVID-19 emergency declaration is terminated. There's a 20-day appeal period from the giving of the notice of decision in which any person or public body may appeal the decisions or any conditions imposed. If no appeals received within the 20 days of the giving of the notice, provisional consent becomes final. The applicant has 1 year to meet the conditions imposed and submit the necessary documents for certification, or the consent will lapse and a new application will be required. Please leave the identification signs in place until the appeal period ends, after which they can be removed. If you would like to be notified of today's decision, please request a copy by contacting Steve Evans at sevans@elgin.ca. A copy of the comment package is also available upon request and includes all correspondence received. Thank you. Any more questions from the applicant?
No more. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, Steve, do you have anything else we have to talk about before we can go home?
Nothing else, Mr. Chairman, just motion to adjourn. And also, just to confirm that July 22nd is the preferred date for the next meeting.
I think July 22nd was agreed upon, and Ian is ready to adjourn.
What was the motion to adjourn? Who moved that?
Ian Flack. Ian? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody. That went better than I thought it might. But-